Hello all. Today I have a
Hello
pleasure
there.
of having a chat with my good colleague Ulf. Ulf is a veteran in the investment space of the water industry. Ulf, would you like to tell us a little bit more about what you're doing and your activities throughout the sector?
Yeah, one of my activities is a Watervent, which stands for Water Venture. Watervent, I founded Watervent in 2010.
Hmm.
The first firm, it's a firm dedicated, not a congress, it's a firm dedicated to match water tech innovators, say startups and SME, with potential investors and of course clients. Because one of my experiences I draw from setting up Watervent is that one of the most crucial elements of building successful water startup is to detect and to convince the very first clients, so creating references. And Watervent, it's a nice success story. In the meantime, we are preparing the 30th firm on October 25 in Berlin. Though Watervent was mainly organized in US, throughout 5 times Philadelphia, once in New York City, and once Cincinnati. During the Corona time, it was conducted via Zoom.
Mhm.
So in the meantime, I guess being one of a matching-oriented firm, not a congress, as I stated, we are one of the very few matching-only firms and initiatives in the water sector. Beyond those, like, say, the wet source activities in Leeuwarden,
Mhm.
or Imagine H2O in San Francisco, or Brew in Milwaukee, for naming three of, in my eyes, leading initiatives, say incubators particularly,
Mhm.
matching water tech innovators with investors and clients. We are belonging to one of the very rare firms focusing on matching, not sharing wisdom with people talking about relevance and scarcity in water and then leaving again without any results, but matching innovations with those who are keen and open-minded enough to apply these innovations, though these innovations are not already established, and though these innovators do not have 60, 70 happy clients.
If you don't mind my asking, what is your background? Was it
Well, the
was it
background is
water related?
I'm not an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I studied business administration in Munich, but I'm running matching firm since '97,
Mm-hmm.
and when I started. And in 2010, when I founded Watervent, it's because of the fact that water was and is still kind of neglected sector, VC-wise. And this was for me the main inspiration, because there was literally nothing beside one or two other initiatives. And the second is that water is a global stuff. Water is one of the very few resources which does not depend on religion, on taste, on race, on nationalities, because water is such a basic need for everybody on this world. Without water, you don't do anything. So, and this is something I grew up and I listened to some couple of hundred startups in my own event, couple of thousand startups in third-party events. So simply by listening carefully, I understand in the meantime a lot of technical details, which normally needs an engineering exam.
Yeah. And I would like to ask, like you mentioned the importance of water and how it runs through all the facades of the modern life. Yet
Mhm.
still, my impression from the water sector, it is an industry of big efforts and low returns. Why do you think is that?
Um, there are various reasons for this. First of all, water was always being conceived as a commodity which is available for everybody at a low price. And when we start with availability, water is not available in many regions of the world, or the other way around, it's available in redundance, in abundance. See flooding actually taking place in Germany.
Yep.
Due to climate change, people get more and more pressure on water availability. I'm not talking about water treatment, water availability. Even in Germany, last summer, there were several regions where the water supply had to be managed via trucks in Germany. We are not talking about Black Africa in Germany.
We are having water issues also here in the Netherlands. So, yeah.
That's one of the reasons. Secondly is the eternal tedious discussion about water as a human right. It's nice if you see all the presidents and all the government on UN-based water conference saying, yes, we have to do something in water. Everybody is applauding, and afterwards nothing is happening. Because this I call water ignorance. Now, there are many countries in this world whose governors, whose presidents do not care about their fauna, flora, and their people because they're just ignorant and often corrupt. So, and this with water, because the third one is that many regions do not have any infrastructure that they can rely on. There's now, we in Netherlands or in Germany, we have infrastructure, so old sometimes, but we have an infrastructure. We have pipes in the earth. We have water treatment, which is not given in many regions of the world. So in resume, I see that the awareness for water value is terrifically increasing. Though water, for many reasons, is still too cheap. If water is having the same pricing like petrol, like gas, people would start not necessarily to save water, but to think about water, to take care about leakages, because in many regions, some third or the half of water supplied is lost in soil because of leakages.
Yep, that much is
There are
true.
a lot of technologies to detect leakages, to treat on leakages, but if you don't make it, so for instance, the development aid Germany provides often, they're installing sophisticated water pumps somewhere in the jungle. They work properly for 6 months, and then the filtration cartridge has to be replaced. But nobody is able to, because you have to have an engineer exam from the RWTH Aachen, because it's very complicated. And what happens is still working for 3 months and then breaking down, and then the metal around is stolen. And the people need simple technology, though running into the danger that not everything is getting out by filtration. Might be some people get a diarrhea on that, or something like that, but they're not going to die on thirst.
Yes.
So
I guess every region has its own, or every problem has its own parameters, right? Every region has its own characteristics. But do you really think that we need to get to a crisis level in our water resources in order to turn the public opinion around?
Yes. Very clearly, because people are not always talking about, since decades, since I'm running Watervent, I'm following up with all these global congresses, especially the UN ones. People are talking of water and talking of water. Yes, we need to do, etc. They're forbidding plastic straws in Germany and Europe. And simultaneously, they're dumping thousands of plastic dump in the Mekong River. How ridiculous. And if people are not able or willing to stop this is a political will, like in Vietnam, for instance. but there's no political will because they're just ignorant. And if you're running into scarcity, whatever, they're asking Germany for development aid. And this is ridiculous.
I guess everything is political, but the thing is, what do we do as water professionals, as people who understand the problem and who know
Yeah.
how to solve it? What do we do? What do all the CEOs and directors do about it? And is it that we're still acting with kind of a dinosaur logic when it comes to managing the water sector?
Yeah, there are many startups and many corporates who do development aid in water sanitation, like foundations like Rockefeller and Gates. They are doing donations in water and sanitation globally. Or for instance, a Berlin-based startup called Borealis, they provide containerized water treatment to developing countries very successfully. But this can be only a start because people locally have to be educated how to manage, how to maneuver the technology installed, and how to maintain and repair it. If not, everything will collapse. So I do not believe that with normal measures you can deal with these problems. We have technology available. In the meantime, you can deal really contaminated black water. You can make it being potable, at least to irrigate, etc., etc. This is not a question of technology, it's a question of availability for technology and local training and local maintenance, etc., because you cannot just go there and install it and leave it alone. This does not work because people are there tend to be corrupt, even the official people, from presidents to local police, whatever. You have, if you see some installations in Africa, they have to put really wire fences around the water treatment places to avoid that people just steal it, what is installed, you know. And this is not the logic behind.
Even in the West, things are not great with water, with managing of the water resources. We have terrible water management. We don't push for water reuse. And as you said, price hiking would also be a weapon against water mismanagement. We could also apply the fit for use, for example, water management, but these are all political, let's say, actions that also carry a proportional political cost.
Yeah, but you know, and therefore, I do not deliberately, I do not invite any public institution or politicians to speak in Watervent. Nobody is interested. It's no benefit, it's no value added. Just talking, yes, water is scarce, we have to do something in water, and nothing is happening. We are focusing on technology, which is not necessarily high tech. There's so much technology out there, which is low tech or normal tech, which relies on mainly of mechanical devices. No electronics, no virtual, whatever, because if you start to have electronics and virtual and whatever, it's nice to have it. But if internet does not work, electricity does not work, you cannot deal with this. So there must be simple, mechanical, a bit anachronistical means to provide for water pumps and water treatment, even though it does not perfectly get rid of any of contamination of virus, bacteria from the water, but at least there is water, at least for irrigation, which is also relevant because in the same countries, 99% of all agriculture you have, they rely on irrigation because there's not raining enough. So if you cannot irrigate, you have nothing to eat.
Indeed.
You know, but this logic is so banal. Like, for instance, if you cut off all your woods, you're running into water problems. First erosion, and then it's dry, not raining anymore, etc., etc. So the nexus between forest and woods availability and water reservoirs, it's evident. But people are so ignoring, cutting off their woods, running into water problems or flooding, whatever, because the erosion takes place with big amount of earth and soil swamped away. Then they cannot plant anything, and then they ask in Germany for development aid. It's so ridiculous. I would laugh about if it's not so dreary, you know.
You mentioned at the start that there are only so many investment initiatives in the water space. How do you think we can increase investment capital for water?
First of all, is more transparency in the market, so rendering more visibility to innovators in the water space. Secondly, I do not think that any kind of subsidies or government guarantees will significantly trigger investments in water. It's just the other way around to present to family offices and alternative sources for money the relevance to invest in water. And on the other side, because water, it's still too political. So, but at the same time, a public task could be to support water tech startups to create reference projects. Say, hey, here is a utility, it's run by the government, mainly here in Germany, and saying, hey, we give subsidies or we give financial support to those utilities who are willing to try out new water tech. And this leads to an increased activity of the water tech startups, and this leads to a higher investment interest from the investors. Because the investors mainly have the considerations to invest in water tech startups because the water is dominated by public laws, restrictions, whatever. It's too complicated to step into the market.
Do you think there are some consistent management issues of the startup founders that prevent them from moving forward?
Well, as I stated, if startups want to get into touch with utilities, it's a hard task. Utilities claim to be innovative, but
Utilities is a no-go. But like, do they have, like, apart from proposing to public spaces, do you think that they are perhaps not being transparent enough, working in a kind of a silo all the time, afraid to share the details of what they're doing?
Yeah, but this is improving, but at least water tech innovators are not very much taken into serious. And my recommendation is for any water tech startup, forget about public run entities, but address industry, because any manufacturing industry had a water need. If you can explain them that they save the water bill by installing your technology you are in. The same is with big real estate owners. Like if you have own a house with 500 tenants, just talk to the owner of installing a black or gray water treatment in the cave for saving water bill. Or talk simply, my recommendation sounds funny, but talk to your country club. Golfers like green lawn. And if you can provide an irrigation system with half of the price by whatever, treated water from the neighboring industrial facility, whatever, and if you can reduce their water bill, you are in. Yeah, just talking to the people and saying, hey, who is responsible for the water supply? And you will be surprised which kind of contact you get as a water tech startup.
I'm pretty sure there's space enough for every type of technology to be useful in the market one way or the other. And we have talked about this before with other people. Your technology will probably won't save the world, but there are plenty of customers out there that you can make them happy.
Yeah, yeah.
And you see now all the fuss with PFAS, no pun intended. But do you think there are other potential spots that the startups should focus on?
Well, beyond PFAS, because we are always very creative in inventing new water contaminations, and this never runs out of acting fields. Second is, for what I see, decentralized containerized water treatment, because there's also lacking infrastructure, as I mentioned. There's no pipes in the earth, in the soil, but you need decentralized water treatment like Borealis in Berlin does. The third one I see is exploring alternative water sources, like water from the air, from the humidity. I detected recently a nice, interesting startup or installation on the Canarian Islands, and they are trapping water in the morning fog on the mountains. It works. There's nothing as high-tech can be perceived as high-tech, but it works. It generates water. And they're exploring again in Peru the old Aboriginal water canals. They're refurbishing these canals because they simply work. They're purely mechanic. And fourth is developing alternative technologies of desalination. I'd say replacing reverse osmosis by other means of technology.
Ulf, would you mind reminding the viewers about the next Watervent event?
Yeah. The next Watervent will take place in Berlin also on October 25, which is a Friday. I deliberately picked a Friday for teasing people spending the weekend in Berlin, which isn't bad at all. And Berlin has an advantage being an attractive city, and the accommodation stays affordable in comparison to other major cities in Europe or US.
I would like to thank you very much for taking time out of your agenda today. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Given how busy you are. We certainly all in the water space appreciate your efforts into leading investment capital into our space. And I'll be very interested to see what is going to happen in Berlin in October.
With pleasure. Thank you very much, Christoph.
Take care. Have a nice day.
You too.
And we stay in touch.